course, I didn't know what others were going to say when I wrote this, so there's some repetition. You'll excuse it, I hope. Norm Gohhen was, as many of you know, a fine athlete, an avid sportsman, a professional teacher, an informed and active citizen of his country and his community, a loyal friend, and quietly, so very quietly, a good Samaritan. One could speak at length about each of these attributes of Norm's life and character without fear of exaggeration, but I'm not going to do that. You'll be relieved to hear that I'm only going to speak about one of them, and that briefly. As a lifelong teacher myself, I think it appropriate to talk about that which I know best, Norm as a professional teacher. Norm Gohhen was my friend and colleague for 21 years at South Garland High School, where he served so very ably as the chairman of the Social Studies Department, in which I taught history. Our long and benign association was both personal and professional. In the early years, we often played golf after school, and on Saturday mornings, basketball in the school gym. Needless to say, in both these activities, Norm was much my superior. During school hours, we each, in his own way, devoted his energies to the formation of the minds of our students. In recent days especially, I've often thought back upon those years. Many things come to mind. Many of them anecdotal, some humorous, some not so humorous. As Charles Dickens wrote in his masterful novel, A Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But I think it appropriate today to brush aside all the anecdotes and to address the one thing that in our shared lives, to me, most surely defined Norm Gohhen the man. And so I'll speak now of Norm regarding his professionalism. I do so guardedly, knowing that for some time this word has been used so carelessly and then often in such a contradictory manner as it has by now become almost devoid of meaning. It has been employed to refer to a good team player and a supporter of existing orthodoxies. Nevertheless, the word professional is a good word when rightly used. I hope that I will use it rightly today, for the failure to do so would be a disservice to Norm and to his memory. Norm Gohhen knew what it was to be a professional teacher. So what does this word professional mean? It refers to a field of competence where standards of value are recognized and observed, to a marked sense of responsibility for the maintenance of those standards. Professionalism requires a genuine love for one's field of endeavor, for consciousness of its lasting worth, and a determination to protect its character and to further its value to society. These are the true characteristics of professionalism, and they accurately describe Norm as a teacher. It has become common for many people to speak of the profession of teaching in lofty and, frankly, sometimes saccharine terms, saying that one is shaping young lives, the leaders of tomorrow, that the teachers in the front lines of social amelioration. There's some truth in such statements, I suppose, cliche though they may be, if they are enunciated thoughtfully and with a pretty clear consciousness of their meaning. But one wonders if they're not too often uttered as a cloak for the light regard that our society really has for the profession of teaching as measured by its perpetually impoverished state. It would be difficult and unjust to regard lightly the professional career of Norm Gohhen. The truth is that the teacher never really knows to what degree he is preparing his students to live well in this world. to be productive citizens in our democracy and transmitters of civilization. The teacher cannot know with certainty what influence his endeavors may have had for good or for ill. Each of us finds himself thrust by circumstances or by God's design into a particular place in a moment of time where the only guide is one's sense of value of the endeavor itself and the hope that somehow, it will, by God's mercy, bear good fruit. Norm knew that a profession is always subject to change and that it must ever adapt itself to new circumstances. But he also knew that it cannot be the subject to the passing current of momentary popular opinion, or it will lose its character as a profession and its permanent value. Norm and I spoke often of these things over the course of many years, many times. I saw this understanding in our private conversations. I heard it also in the comments of his students. My own daughter, Julie, was fortunate enough to have sat under Norm, and to this day speaks very highly of him. I knew Norm pretty well as a teacher, and I knew how his mind directed itself to his work. I'm confident that Norm, in his moments of reflection upon his life and profession, for profession it was, and let none doubt that, I am confident that Norm must have taken solace in his consciousness of these things, in the sure knowledge that he was a teacher in the best sense of the term, that he served his profession and his community well. So at last, I can truly say, here was a good man. We will not soon find another like him.
Well, I want to just say real briefly here, this next thing that we're going to see, this prayer, this is vintage, Norm Gohhen. And last summer, we as a congregation gathered in this place and we pooled our talent, and Norm gave his, and this was a challenge to you, Janie, and you were hedging on whether or not you were going to be in that talent show, and he said, I'll do this if you do that. And so we're going to see this.
So King Alice in like 1902. That's to you, and I think he wrestled gators for a while. He wrestled gators, especially at Sunbrook High School for 50 years or something like that. But this man has done our own Norm Gohhen, and I come here and throw some nice. I hear it's a very comfortable. Oh, you don't I don't want to say that. Well, I'm saying while my technical assistant for putting together what you're going to see here, and I'm pretty sure that you will want to see what's here first. But here's a poem. It should take some of you back a long way. When memory keeps me company and moves me from smiles to tears, a weather-beaten object looms through the mist of years. Behind the house and barn stood a half a mile or more, and hurrying feet a path had made straight to its swinging door. Its architecture was a type of simple classic art, but in the tragedy of life, it played a leading part. And off the passing traveler drove slow and heaved a sigh to see the modest hired girl slip out with glances shy. We had a flower garden that we didn't love so well. I loved it too, but better still, I love the stronger winter smell. Filled the evening breezes so full of homely cheer, and told the night o'ertaken tramp that human life was near. Spiders. All day, fat spiders spun webs to catch the buzzing flies that flitted to and from the house where Ma was baking pies. And once a swarm of horny foal had built a palace there and stung my unsuspecting aunt, I must not tell you where. Farther from the flaming pole, it was a glorious day. It almost burned the building up, but the hornets left to stay. On late August afternoons, it made a little bower, delightful where my grandsire sat and whiled away an hour. When the sun's bloom began to fade and winter to carouse, we piled a little building up with heaps of hemlock boughs. And when the crust was on the snow and sullen skies were gray, in truth, the building was no place where one would wish to stay. We did our duties properly, what vision swayed the mind we carried not, nor lingered long on what we left behind. The torture of that icy seat would make a Spartan sigh, for these must scrape the goose flesh with a lacerating cod. From the frosty, rusted nail was suspended by a string. My father was a frugal man and wasted not a thing. When Grandpa had to go out back to make his morning call, we'd bundle up the dear old man in a lumper and a shawl. I knew the hole on which he sat. It was padded all around. And once I dared to sit there. It was all too light, I found. My loins were all too little when I was jackknifed there sat. They had to come and pull me out right that way. My father said ambition was a thing that boys should shun, and I should use the children's hole till childhood days were done. But still I marvel at the craft they cut those holes so true. The baby hole, the slender hole that fitted Sister Sue, that grand old country landmark. I've tramped around a bit, and in the lap of luxury, my lot has been to sit. But ere I die, I'll eat the fruit of trees I robbed of yore. Then I'll seek the shanty where my name is carved upon the door. I'll wean the old familiar smells. It will soothe my jaded soul. I'm now a man, but nonetheless, I'll try the children's hole. I'm trying to do something about eliminating the lacerating cob. Well, Bill Dunn's not here, but this is what Texas A&M came up with.